I'll come back and give you the odds as far as the postseason is concerned, too. I'll have some laughs with that. See if we can find a team that we like. Off to a good start with Winnipeg, by the way, with a win last night against Minnesota. That's the odds that we have played as far as the hockey is concerned at plus 750. We'll see if we can find one for you in the NBA. Here's Huck in Missouri. Good to start off with him. And he says hello. Huck, you know it's a pleasure. How are you today, pal? Okay?
Doing well, Chris. Up you, bud.
Good to have you aboard, Huck. What's up?
This man Gundy knows 1,000 million times more about basketball than I do, but I respectfully disagree with him. I think he's smoking dope. I mean, if Toronto matches up with Cleveland so damn well, how come Cleveland kicks the crap out of them every time they play? I mean, Toronto never shows up in a big spot against Cleveland. They never have, and I don't see any difference this time.
Well, the only thing is that there isn't. Now, Jeff made a good point there. I thought you were going to go to Houston route and get into them. But Huck, he made a good point. He didn't really think that Toronto was that much better. He just thought without Kyrie Irving, Cleveland is that much worse.
Well, they didn't have Kyrie Irving the 3 or 4 times they played Toronto this year, and they beat them.
I don't know what the season series was. I don't think you can't go by season series. They lost early in the year in Toronto, only played once there. They may have been 2-1 Cleveland, but regardless of that, don't read too much into the season series. I think Jeff's point there, Huck, more than anything else, was the idea that without Kyrie Irving on your team, that Cleveland, not a great defensive team anyway, but that's a Hall of Famer that no longer on that team. And you're taking, I don't care how good Jordan Hickson is, you're taking a Hall of Famer off that team. So they're not just going to be as good. I think that was his point more than anything else. Here's Reginald in Delaware. He's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Reginald, good afternoon. How are you today?
Hey, dog. How you doing, man?
All right, Reginald. Nice to talk to you. What's on your mind now? Let me hear.
Good spot there with Jeff Van Gundy, but he surprised me with that Toronto pick, dog. I don't trust him. I just don't trust him, dog. But I can see his point with the Rockets now. Like he said, they're hungry. They're hungry, and the Warriors are banged up. But I do not trust Toronto, dog. Let me hear your take.
Reginald, you're preaching to the choir. Nor do I. Under any circumstances, I do not trust Toronto at all. I think that, listen, they're a good regular season they're a good regular season team. He's a very good coach, excellent defensively. He's underrated, Casey. But in a big game, they are a perimeter-oriented team with 2 little guards, Reg. And in a big game, I do not trust them. Lowry takes himself out of the game half the time. He had that anxiety issue a few years ago. I just don't trust them in a big spot. So I generally agree with your overall point about the Raptors. Teddy in Cleveland, he's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Teddy, good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm doing great, man. How's it going? How you doing, dog?
All right, Teddy, nice to talk to you. What's on your mind now? Let me hear.
Hey, Chris, so I really think guys like Jeff and you and the media right now are like making these East predictions just to have something to talk about, other than we all know LeBron's going to the finals, because we all know he's going. And I tell you what, this year team reminds me of. It reminds me of the teams he had his last 2 years in Cleveland, except they're better, and he has a second legitimate all-star with Kevin Love. And LeBron's obviously a way better player than when he was back then. And in those years, he took the big 3 Celtics 6 games and took Dwight Howard 6 games. You're telling me any of these teams in the East right now are better than those teams that LeBron took and the teams that he's even beaten on the way there?
Good point.
There's no one in the East taking them 5 games.
Good point. What Ted's telling you, folks, and we'll let him continue here, but what Ted is telling you is that LeBron had a lot worse teams 8-9 years ago that gave the Magic with Van Gundy, but specifically the Celtics with the big 3. He gave them a very tricky series in many a case with an inferior squad than, say, what he's going to deal with now with Toronto. Toronto would have been murdered by the Celtics, yet he won 2 games against the Celtics with a worse team than he has now. So based on that combination, Teddy thinks the Cavs are going back to the final, correct?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. There's no one in the East taking them past 5 games. And the only reason now anyone's even blowing up Philadelphia is because they know Boston has no chance. A month ago, everyone said, oh, Philly's too young, they're not ready, and they've had a great stretch of basketball. I think since December they have the second or third best record in the league. I'm not discrediting what they're doing, but they are too young. They don't have enough, and they're not beating LeBron James. This guy's been to the finals 7 years in a row, and this playoffs to the East this year is easier than what it's ever been. There's no way he's not going back.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think I'd still pick him. I have to see Toronto beat Cleveland. I'm not sure what to make out of Philly. It's still a young team. A big step up the process. I'm not convinced about them. So, generally speaking, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Generally speaking, I do think that Cleveland is still the team to beat in a big spot. Here's Craig in Naples, Florida, and he's with us here on Mad Dog Unleashed. Craig, good afternoon. How are you today?
How you doing, Mad Dog?
Fine, Craig. Thank you. What's up?
Hey, well, why are you guys talking about like a Toronto and Cleveland matchup when you guys forget that the Pacers are the one that have swept Cleveland in the regular series?
Pacers are pretty good, too. That will be a hard series. That's an excellent point. Indiana is hungry. They got a lot of They got shooters. Oladipo is a very good player. Sabonis is sitting there. Miles Turner is a good player. I would not rule Indiana. I think Indiana would be dangerous. Now, again, I can't pick them to beat Cleveland, but Indiana will be dangerous. I agree with that 100%. Go ahead. Next.
Oh, yeah.
I agree. I'm not going to disagree with that. I think that Indiana could be. I just don't think that Indiana is going to beat them. But picking against LeBron, at your own risk. Brad in Long Island. He's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Brad, good afternoon. Your turn. How are you today?
Doggy, how you doing, buddy?
Fine, Brad. Thank you. What's on your mind now? Let me hear.
I never really call in about basketball, but I got a couple of things real quick to say. Number one, being here, and being here, how bad the Knicks have been. If you look over the history, the Utah Jazz, and I understand nobody wants to go out there and play for some reason. It's not the attractive place to play. But all they do is consistently win. And if you look at what they did this year, it might be one of the greatest accomplishments in the NBA over years and years and years, losing Gordon Hayward. If they had him back, people would be saying, you want to know what? It could be Houston. It could be Utah. It could be Golden State. Meanwhile, they're there. They go 28-6, I think.
Yeah, they were
over the last part of the year.
Right.
And I understand it's a small stage, but on a small stage, wouldn't the Knicks? And I hate the Knicks. I'm not a Mets fan or a Knicks fan for some reason. I'm a Utah fan from Long Island. I've lived in Long Island my entire life because of Stockton and Malone when I was a little kid. How could they not look at the blueprint that they've put up over years and years and years and somehow figured a way to win?
Well, a couple of reasons. First off, the Knicks have not been patient. They made a move to get Anthony, which turned out to be probably a mistake. They gave up so many players. None of them great, but they gave up a lot of players. Probably should have waited to being a free agent. They fire coaches left and right. They didn't have the luck to take Stockton and Malone in the picks, which was, Malone was, I believe, pick 13. What pick was Malone and what pick was Stockton? Can we look at that? Was Malone 3 with Louisiana Tech? I don't know where Stockton was in the mid-'80s. You got to get lucky with that. The Knicks have not been able to win a lottery to get that kind of scenario. They drafted 2 Hall of Famers. Utah has not won a championship now. Let's keep that in mind. Malone was 13th. I thought it was 13th, and I didn't go with my instinct. What was Stockton the year before or 2 years prior to that? Stockton's a little older than Malone. We take a time out. We continue. Mad Dog Unleashed.